All right, graphs of exponential and logarithmic functions. So what is a exponential function? It's in this form, f of x equals b to the x. X is any real number, and b is the base. The base has to be positive, greater than 0, and it can't be 1, just some conditions. A basic technique for graphing a function is to plot enough points to obtain an accurate shape of the graph. So that's what I want to say here. There's different techniques for graphing. What this video is going to concentrate on is just picking some points and graphing it. We're going to try to simplify it as much as possible. So I'm not going to worry about translating a graph or reflecting a graph. It's basically going to be, let's pick some points. Okay. Now, one of the things we also need to do is show the asymptote. For an exponential function such as this, f of x equals b to the x plus k, there is a horizontal asymptote at y equals k. So whatever this number is after the b to the x, or your base to the exponent, whatever that number is, that is where your horizontal asymptote is at. Okay, so here we go. F of x equals 2 to the power x. First thing we need is the horizontal asymptote. There is no number after 2 to the x, right? There's nothing there. So therefore, it's automatically y equals 0. So y equals 0 is actually the x-axis, so go to 0 on the y-axis and then draw a horizontal line. Make it dashed. An asymptote is usually drawn as a dashed line. So there's my green dashed line. All right, now we're going to pick some points. Gosh, I already put the points there. But what I want you to do is you're going to type it into your calculator. And I want you to pick points looking at that exponent. Start with a number that'll make it 0 as an exponent. Kind of like if we saw it inside parentheses. Pick the number that makes it 0 inside. Well, the exponent is 0. Sorry, the exponent is just x by itself. So 0 would make it 0. So you want to pick 0, and then you want some points to the left and right of 0. So on my table, you can see that I picked -1, -2, and -3, and then +1 and +2. At least a couple points on the left of 0 and a couple points on the right of 0. That should be good enough. All right, so once you get those points from your calculator, whether you have to plug them in or you have a graphing calculator or a Casio that gives you the table if you tell it what numbers to choose. So that's your job, is get those numbers from the calculator and then plot them. And then draw a shape, connect the dots, right? Try not to cross the asymptote, it gets close to it, but doesn't touch it. So there's my graph of f of x equals 2 to the power x. All right, let's do another one. This one's almost the same, f of x equals 2 to the power x minus 1. Again, there's no number outside, there's no value of k, so in this case k is 0. So that's our horizontal asymptote again. Now when you make your table, pick the number that'll make the exponent 0. So what number should I make x so that when I subtract 1 I get 0? Right, 1. So the number you want to choose is 1. And then pick a couple numbers to the left of 1 and a couple numbers to the right of 1. I'll show you my table. So there's my table. 1, I picked 1, that's in red there. And then I picked some numbers to the left, 0, -1, -2. And then some numbers to the right, 2 and 3. And then I plugged into the calculator. Those are the values I got. I'm going to graph them, plot those points. Almost the same as the last graph, right? And then play a little connect the dots. All right, this one looks good, right? F of x equals 1/2 to the power x minus 3. This one, let's see, where is the horizontal asymptote? There is a number after the b to the x part, and that is at -3. So that's where your horizontal asymptote is at, y equals -3. So whatever number that is, that k that's on the outside, whatever number that is, if it's a +5, then it's at y equals 5. If it's a -100, then it's at -100. Hopefully it's not 100. Okay, so go to -3 on the y-axis and draw your horizontal asymptote. Okay, now we're going to pick some points. We're going to start with 0, and then 2 numbers to the left, and 2 numbers to the right. Well, I guess I did 3 numbers to the left and 3 numbers to the right. That's even better. All right, there's my table. Plot those points. If you haven't gone through it, make sure you pause the video and work it out on your calculator so you get them. And then connect the dots. Trying to make a smooth graph, and that's it. Yeah, see, without that asymptote, you might be tempted to keep going below the asymptote with your line. Looks like my graph's getting a little sketchy there at the end also. Okay, anyways, let's do one more. Let's do a couple more. Okay, now we're going to graph logarithmic functions. So first of all, a logarithmic function has a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. And that's because we can't have the log of a negative number, or we can't take the log of 0. It'll say math error on your calculator. So let's graph this first function, f of x equals log of x base 3. First of all, again, it has a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. And we can also change the f of x to y. That might help us out. All right, so x equals 0, that's our vertical asymptote. And we have y equals log of x base 3. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change it to exponential notation. So that would be 3 to the power y equals x. Base to the exponent equals a result. Now, this is what we want to graph. But it's different. It's because we have x by itself. You can still use your calculator. You could type in f of x equals log, not the log part. You could type in y equals 3 to the x, even though it's x equals 3 to the y. Just know that when you pick points, it's going to be opposite. So here's my table. So look on the right. Under y, I put 0, 1, 2, and 3, and then -1 and -2. So I'm picking numbers for y. And then I'm plugging it into this equation to get my x values. Now, if you want to use your calculator, when you use your calculator, you could still do f of x equals 3 to the power x. Just know that your answers are going to be reversed. Yeah, so if you don't change it to exponential form and you try, maybe you have the Casio and you want to put in the base of 3, the problem is you don't know what numbers to pick. You don't know to pick a 27 or a 1/3 or a 1/9 to get nice results. So you're going to have all these weird decimals and it's hard to know what to make of it. Okay, so just to recap, we change it from logarithmic form to exponential form, and then we choose numbers for y and plug it in to get the x values. Let's plot that. Those are our points, draw it in, and there's our graph. All right, we'll try a couple more. This one's a little bit tricky, I know. All right, f of x equals log x base 3 plus 2. First of all, vertical asymptote. We just set our x equal to 0, and that's it. There's our vertical asymptote. Now we're going to replace f of x with y, and then we're going to change it to exponential form. But before we do that, we need to subtract 2 on both sides. So now we could change it. It'll be 3 to the power y minus 2 equals x. So when you make your table, again, pick points for y to calculate the x value. So for my y, I'm starting with the number 2 because 2 minus 2 is 0. So that's the key number to choose is 2. Because you get 0, and then we're going to pick some numbers to the right of 2 and to the left of 2. So therefore I picked 3 and 4, 1 and 0, plugged them in, worked it out, and those are the values I got. Again, if you decide to use your calculator, you're going to have to type it in as f of x equals 3 to the power x minus 2, and your range is from 0 to 4. That's totally fine. Just kind of make sure you put those values for y, and the answers that you get will be the x values. All right, let's plot those points and draw it in. That's it, done. All right, one more. You know, this one's different because inside the parentheses is x plus 4. So previously we said that x equals 0 is the vertical asymptote. Well, now it's not just x, it's x plus 4. So if we set that equal to 0, you get x equals negative 4. So therefore our vertical asymptote is at negative 4 this time. So whenever you have parentheses, set it equal to 0 and solve, and that'll give you your vertical asymptote. Now we're going to change it into exponential form. Got to subtract 4 on both sides. So we can't get y by itself, but we could get x by itself. And now we're going to make a table. I just rewrote it. X equals 3 to the y minus 4. Make a table and choose values for y. So my y values, I started with 0, and then 1 and 2, and negative 1 and negative 2. Those are my end results. Plot the points. Draw it in. And I think that's it. All right, so if you have the log of something, set that something equal to 0 to get the vertical asymptote. Change it to exponential form, and then pick some points for y. All right, that's it. Have a good day.